Hi, my name is Mayo. I'm your art teacher in Chicago. If you want to visit my website, it's abcartsmart.com. A lot of paintings on there, and today is September 18th to 2019, and I've got a few steps ahead of you in this lesson. This lesson is called The Four Horses of the Apocalypse. It's a series I'm working on. And I did do a monochromatic underlayment with the horses. I can show you a thumbnail too. I'll add that to the video so you see the original monochromatic layout. It's a spread of pretty much all the same colors and different shades. A mapping of what I'm doing in oils. So, and my palette is limited. It's like the seascape I did in lesson 1, the stormy Lake Michigan. You'll see that video too. But here, I'm almost using the same colors, a very limited palette. I already have my palette together for you, so we don't waste time. I have titanium white, I have a periwinkle purple, I have a cobalt blue and an ultramarine blue, and black, ivory black. So the palette is almost the same as the Stormy Lake Michigan painting. And as you can see, I did get a start. And I do use chalk, white chalk. After you get it in, you can make your corrections. I made some corrections today already, as you can see. And so what I do is I just kind of lightly correct some areas of the horses I'm studying, and that way I will get everything together. And this, the fourth horse, as you can see, is over here, and it's in the background. It kind of starts, foreground is the closest thing to you in a painting, and then it steps down to a background. You can always have a medium ground too. So this is my beginning of the lesson today for you. And let me get my brush. It's right up here. I'm going to start with a very narrow brush today. A little bit of ivory black. And what I'm going to do is outline his hoof here. I'll hold my palette so if you can see me. I'm coming up here. Okay. And what I'm doing is I'm just shading his hoof in black, ivory black, outlining it more or less. This one too. They have a knob horses. So I'll give you, in here, the chest, like that. And I like to get my brushes together. So I'm going to use a very soft, what I call a dry swiper. And I will go across it and just blend it in. A lot of times I'll take a little turpentine and just wet it up a little bit. I'm not using any medium on this one. No glazing medium. I'm using straight terpenoid, so it's odorless. And I just want to gently bring these areas in, but softly. I will blend sometimes, but this time I'm just showing you the dry brush technique. And that just pops out. And I can take a little white, titanium white. Over here I dip it in my terpenoid. And I can just kind of shade it a little bit. This is only going to be a 15-minute lesson today, so I can upload it for you so you can learn a little bit about oil painting. And there you go. I'm going to take a little bit of the black titanium, a little bit of the white, I'm sorry, ivory black and titanium white, and shade these certain areas of the horse. It is a male, so I'm going to put that anatomy in here, as you can see. And over here, I'm going to just change the leg a little bit up, because I'm putting the chest here. Excuse me. Here's my ivory black again, and in here. And this is where I'm putting the chest. So I am changing it a little bit from the original design. A little bit of white, a little bit of cobalt blue, and a little bit of, ultramarine blue and cobalt. And we're just going to bring that here. Shade a little bit in here because I changed his leg, as you can see. There's his chest, and here's his leg coming out here. So I will correct it because it is kind of a foreshortened horse. So I will take my periwinkle and I'll bring it in here a little bit. As you can see, I changed the line of the horse to get correct anatomy. And I just fill that in a little bit. This is a series of the battle scenes on my website, ABC Art Smart, and also it's a series of battle scenes and the four horses of the apocalypse. You can look at my website and you can see the other paintings I have in this particular series. I'm putting the nostril in here. And he's going to be breathing fire. So I will show you that in another 15-minute. If we get to it today, we get to it today. If not, we do not, because this is going to be a short 15-minute. And here with my limited palette we're using a little bit of, again, titanium white. And we're going to probably put ultramarine blue in now. A little bit of ultramarine blue. We're going to bring his mane down a little bit over the other mane, like that. Tiny bit of tip on the brush of the ivory black. And we're just going to bring that in. I like the fact his mane was going this way, the hair, and now I'm doing it the opposite way for movement and flow. I like the movement and flow of that. And I swipe on a sheet. I always have this out. It's something you should think of. And then we're going to take the dark blue and we're going to put it in here a little bit. Or I'm sorry, it's a lighter blue. It's more like a titanium. This is the cobalt. I apologize. This is cobalt. Take a little bit of this different blue. You can see my palette here. I have 3 different blues. A paleo blue, kind of like, yeah, it's a paleo blue. And we have an ultramarine blue, and we have a cobalt blue. We have a periwinkle purple, titanium white, and very ivory black. So I'm just running that in. This is now the cobalt blue. I corrected myself before. And this is one of the series. Go back into titanium. I'm sorry. I get ivory black and titanium mixed up for the inside of the ear. And I will go dip in the turpentine. Turpenoid. We don't want turpentine. It's bad to breathe. And we're going to give him a little bit more in here. I want it a shade darker here and in here. So this is the horse as we see it now. Here too. We bring his legs down in here, as you can see. I dip in the turpenoid again, and we're just going to make a medium gray here with the titanium white and the ivory black. And just give him his leg. He's going to go down. So this is basically his shoulder here. Swipe it and go back to titanium white, and it does get a super white right in here. I like to take my swiper and just blend lightly. I like the way a dry brush blends lightly. There's many ways you can blend, but this is one technique I'm showing you today. And here, I'm going to dip back in the turpenoid, and I'm going to go into the ultramarine. I'm going to bring it swiping in here because I want that feeling. I want that flow. They're almost coming out of a genie bottle, a universe genie bottle. And we're going to put a little titanium here. And we're going to put some here by his hoof. So. Okay. Now, we're going to work on this horse. He is also probably going to be blowing out fire in the end. And he's got a chest too here, so what we're doing, this is only a 15 minutes, so bear with me. Get back in the turpenoid, get a little bit of the ivory black. Keep your brush wet with the turpenoid. It's a nice tip if you look. A good oil painting brush. This is an oil. And this is how I want it here. Okay. Then we're going to dip in a little bit of the cobalt. Mix it with a little bit of the ivory black. And just bring it like this around that tail. And a little here too. I just put in a little bit of the cobalt in this inner thigh here. Brush that up. Old socks, they keep your hands clean. And we're just going to use the tip here to do a little bit of blending. We'll blend both ways. We'll blend with the dry brush technique. I like because it works pretty good and pretty fast. See? Then we go back in and make a medium gray with the titanium. Dip back in and give the horse a little bit of a highlight here and here. Tiny bit of the blue, I like that in here. And a tiny bit of the cobalt blue here. And let's see. We're going to make a little bit of a darker gray with titanium and ivory black. A little bit. Sometimes it's good to make 3 different tones and shades. A light gray, a dark black, ivory black, a medium gray, and we mix them all together. When you put the turpenoid on, it helps too. See? You don't always need glaze. I can teach with glaze. I have at the college, but today we're just going to use what we're using now. And we're just going to take some turpenoid with it. Turpenoid, I'm sorry. And back to here. And I like the shades in here because it should be dark in this area under the leg. And it probably would be dark in this area a little bit. We'll just keep it like that. Back into the turpenoid to keep your paint and your oils loose. I like to use it like a watercolor oils, and it seems to work very well. So if I put straight ivory black there and a medium gray, and then again a little bit, and then we get some depth in the painting and in the horse. I like that. I like the way it gives that feeling, swiping feeling, the dry brush technique. And I'm just going to go back in, flip my brush around, and just add that in this area, a little bit. I'll just go back and darken it with that medium gray. Yeah. So that medium gray, again, is ivory black and titanium white. Yeah. Dip back in the turpenoid and put his belly in. So we have almost 3 horses. This horse I would like to do for you before we stop the video today. This is going to be Cobalt here on his mane and his thing. And he is going to be breathing what we call fire 2, or some kind of heavy, warm breath that's going to be in the red tones, but we'll do that in the next lesson. And there's his nose. And he is up at the top, which is okay. You can bring things off the page or off the canvas in this case. It does create interest. Psychologists have actually done studies on that. The viewer will finish the painting or the area that is missing. It's kind of a strange concept, but it is true. They've done studies on that. So, and that's how I want to bring this one in. Like that. And of course, his nose, the horse's nostrils are very dark here. And then, of course, his lower lip. And that's it. So here we go. With another painting. It's a beautiful day in Chicago. It's sunny. It's cool. There's no rain because we had too much rain. So here we go. Now, swipe that clean. Add a little bit more of ivory black here, as you can see my brush strokes. And we have another horse. I love doing this. Just lightly. When you do your dry brush technique, just make sure, I tell all my students to imagine a feather. So you will just lightly want to swipe that brush, that dry brush. I'm going to add some of this. And then the next lesson, we'll put the skeletons that are riding on the horses, on the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. I probably should quit the lesson now, or I'll probably at our 15-minute mark. But I'm going to take a little cobalt. I'm going to mix it in with a little of that ivory black and that titanium white. And I'm going to put this fellow in. There's his chest. And here he is here. Just so you see, he is going to be very misty, so we're not going to really, because he's the background, we're going to keep him in a misty kind of a way. Light and airy, because he is the last horse here. And I'm going to get a little bit more blue tones in this guy, a tiny bit more of the ivory black and gray. That's his chest here. And that's his legs down here. Then we can do this. We can go in with the titanium. With the turpenoid. Get it a little bit on there. And he is the horse in the background. And then we swipe. I'm going to get a nice feeling in here from him. I want him like that. I want him just very faded, because remember, the foreground is always, if you want to create depth in a painting, there's many things to think of, but we're going to try to keep this the palette simple, because you have to think of depth. You have to think of composition, very important, and you have to think of technique. But foreground, to create depth in your painting, you want something larger and more detailed in the foreground and less detailed in the background. So we got a good beginning on him, and I believe I will add a little bit more blue in here. I kind of like the blue in here. So I'm just going to add a little bit more of that cobalt around him, around his chest. Just give him that feeling. And then, of course, we're going to swipe the brush again. Yeah, see, I like that. I like that little bit of blue, and creates interest. And here, we'll just leave that like that. If anything, before we close this lesson, just take a little bit of cobalt and the turpenoid and just put that blue in here too a little bit. I like it. I like this color. And I'm putting it in like watercolors, very light. Very light. A little bit of the pigment, which is the cobalt, and a lot of the turpenoid in this particular lesson. So, and this is how I like it. Yeah, a little bit of depth. I might even bring it down in here and there and here. A little bit more turpenoid. Get it a little bit wet. We're not doing heavy paint today. Light. And there you go. Maybe here on this horse's leg here. And I think the last thing I'm going to do is here. I like that. And then we'll swipe it. Okay. This is painting 4 of the 4 horses of the apocalypse. It's done in monochromatic colors in a way because my palette is limited. Purple, an ultramarine, a cobalt, a paleo blue. We have ivory black and titanium white. And the next stage you will see in part 2, we're going to add some of the fire. You can see a little bit appearing here with a medium cadmium red. And we're going to add a little bit of red in here. And then we'll be putting 1, 2, 3, 4 skeletons riding on the back of the horses. And so we will go through a little bit of a skeletal, kind of an anatomy lesson, quick. And mainly when you paint, sometimes you can study everything, the anatomy, get it correct. But sometimes in a painting, it's more of how it looks and feels if it's right. Sometimes that is more important than even getting it right, is if it feels right. So I think in this case, right here, I need to get a little bit more purple in, so I would put that in for his back, see? And brighten that up, because contrast, oh, we'll talk about contrast too. Contrast is very important. And you want a blue, you know, I love when I go in and just put enough contrast here and there. So there we go. Maybe a little here. Yeah. And then we'll go from there. So I will see you, Mayo Brown, your art teacher in Chicago. I will see you for the next stage. And we're going to put detail in the beginning, and I'll show you the thumbnail where it was all laid out. But in the beginning, we just want to get the composition in, and we want to get the layout in basic colors. And then you move forward. So large spaces first, and then you go down to the smaller spaces in detail in the end. I think we'll do a lot of detail in the next part 2 of 4 Horses of the Apocalypse. You can always look on my website, abcartsmart.com, and you'll see the other 3 in the series. Thank you so much. I look forward to seeing you again, and I hope you look forward to seeing me finish this painting part 2 of the 4 Horsemen of the Apocalypse on September 19th, 2019. I'm sorry, September 18th, 2019. We'll see you soon. Thanks for viewing.